The doors to the Viridian Tea House are open once more. Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. I hope your week went well, and if it didn't, I hope that today and this weekend will make up for it. Also, it's Memorial Day on Monday, so I just want to say, as an American citizen, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so today's tea comes to us from Global Tea Hut, which is a tea and Taoist organization in Taiwan. This tea that I'll be trying, and this is the first time I'm trying this, it's called Chorus. It's a traditional oolong. Now, a little bit more information about this. It is called Chorus. It's from Lishan, Taiwan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a traditional oolong tea. It's Taiwanese, and it was grown around about 2,000 meters. So there's the information about the tea. And each canister of tea that you receive from Global Tea Hut every month does have this little piece of paper in it. So it gives you more information as to where your tea comes from and how it tastes. So one thing that I've noticed about oolong, the major factor about oolong in terms of processing, is that it is specially rolled. I don't know if you can see, might be better if I do this. Try this. I don't know if you can see it, but little rolled balls or knots. And it used to be that each one was hand rolled, and some tea companies still do that. Now, with the modern times, people tend to do it through machines. But for some reason, out of all the teas, oolong tends to be one of my favorites. That and Darjeeling. I love the taste of it. It's almost like a fruity, floral, like you don't even need sugar. Specifically, I like the milk oolongs because, like I said, you don't need any sugar whatsoever. You don't need to add anything to the tea. So this is the tea, the oolong that's brewing right now. So I'm going to give that maybe a couple more minutes. And if you can kind of sort of see, that slow ballet. The tightly wound tea leaves are actually unfolding as they make contact with the water and they steep. You can see that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people might think it's really kind of stupid to enjoy this, but there's something to be said about watching tea leaves dance in the water. So we're going to let that sit for just a few more minutes. But today's tea house session, I just wanted to talk about the tea, of course, and to also talk about what I've been reading lately. If you follow me on Goodreads, that's Kimberly B. Richardson, and I am part of the Goodreads Reading Challenge. And right now, I think I'm up to 45 or 46 out of 50. I might increase that because, very honestly, I did not expect to read 50 books by June. So here's a couple of the books that I've recently been reading, and a big shout out to Arapahoe Library. I love the library system here. It is fantastic. What I like is the fact that not only do I find the books that I'm looking for, but now that we can actually go back into the library again, I'm actually finding books I'd never even heard of before. And I thought, that actually sounds like a good read. And about 8 or 9 times out of 10, it's a positive experience. So here's a couple of books I've been reading for the past week. Now, this is one of my idols. In fact, she's one of the reasons why I am a writer. It's Toni Morrison. If you've never read Toni Morrison before, she wrote books known, let's see, Beloved, The Bluest Eye, Tar Baby, and Home, and Paradise, and there were a bunch more, and I can't remember the. Oh, and Jazz. There are some others, but if you've never read Toni Morrison before, I highly recommend that you read her work. This particular book, I'm going to read from the inside so you kind of get an idea. Let's see. America's most celebrated novelist, Nobel Prize winner Toni Morrison extends her profound take on our history with this 20th century tale of redemption, a taut and tortured story about one man's desperate search for himself in a world disfigured by war. Frank Money is an angry, broken veteran of the Korean War who, after traumatic experiences on the front lines, finds himself back in racist America with more than just physical scars. His home may seem alien to him, but he is shocked out of his crippling apathy by the need to rescue his medically abused younger sister and take her back to the small Georgian town they come from, and that he's hated all his life. As Frank revisits his memories from childhood and the war that have left him questioning his sense of self, he discovers a profound courage he had thought he could never possess again. That's putting it mildly. The review that I put on Goodreads was literally 6 words, and it was something along the lines of haunting, breathtaking, beautiful, um, literary, wonderful. This took me about 2 days to read, maybe three. It was one of those books where I didn't want it to end. Toni Morrison, along with many other authors, but each one with their own spin, Toni Morrison doesn't grab you by the shirt and pull you into her story. She eases you in. But once you're so deep into the story, it's hard for you to look away. It's hard for you to distance yourself. I especially loved, in a weird way, when Frank saved his sister, Yasandra, or C, from the house that she was staying in. She was staying in the house of a doctor. And that's all I'm going to say. It's a very profound and moving scene. And it also made me think about what causes the ghosts in our lives, what haunts us. It can be a small memory, it can be a memory that changes our lives forever. But once that demon is there, once that ghost is there, what will it take to get rid of it? So this book answers the question. So Toni Morrison, Home, highly recommended. Another book that I read, and I read it in literally 2 days, and I do have to say this preface. The first time I tried to read this book, I couldn't do it. For some reason, I just couldn't get into it mentally, and I thought, whatever. I saw the book at the library. Thank you, Sheridan. And I thought, I really want to give this another shot. So I did. And this is French Exit by Patrick DeWitt. If you were looking for black humor, almost depressing, but you can't help but laugh, that really sounds bad. French Exit is the book for you. And apparently, this author is known for having sarcastic, sharp wit with his characters. So let me read from this one. Frances Price, tart widow, possessive mother, and Upper East Side force of nature, is in dire straits, beset by scandal and impending bankruptcy. Her adult son, Malcolm, is no help, mired in a permanent state of arrested development. And then there's the Price's aging cat, Small Frank, who Frances believes houses the spirit of her late husband, an infamously immoral litigator and world-class cad whose gruesome tabloid death rendered Frances and Malcolm social outcasts. Putting penury and pariahdom behind them, the family decides to cut their losses and head for the exit. One ocean voyage later, the curious trio land in their beloved Paris, the city of lights serving as a backdrop not for love or romance, but self-destruction and economic ruin to riotous effect. A number of singular characters serve to round out the cast: a bashful private investigator, an aimless psychic proposing a seance, a doctor who makes house calls with his wine merchant in tow, and the inimitable Madame Renaud, aggressive house guest and dementedly friendly American expat. Best-selling author Patrick DeWitt has returned with a darkly comic novel, a one-of-a-kind tragedy of manners. Brimming with pathos, French Exit is a brilliant send-up of high society as well as a moving mother-son caper that only DeWitt could conceive and execute. I hate to say this, but when I read the book again, I thought this is kind of like Lemony Snicket, but for adults. But then again, I read Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events when I was an adult, so go figure. But this book and the characters, there were so many one-liners that if this was my own copy, I would be underlining. You have to ask yourself when you read this book, do people really think like this? Do they really say things like this? I was telling my boyfriend, I thought, it's almost like watching a Wes Anderson movie because you've got the real world and you have the Wes Anderson world, and the two are not the same. It's the same thing with these characters who go to Paris and the characters that live in Paris versus the Paris that I know. You think it's the same, but it's not. Anyway, highly recommended. I will say that the ending is quite depressing, but in a weird way, it's almost a satisfying ending. So if you see this book in your bookstore, I highly recommend you check it out. And I highly recommend that you check out all of his other books as well, which I'll be doing too. Now, the current read that I have right now is quite a detour. Just a little preface again. I've been getting into French cooking and learning more about nature and learning about the history of vegetables and flowers and plants and so on and so forth. So this book kind of comes as no surprise. This is called Hippie Food. You can see it here. It's Hippie Food, How Back to the Landers, Long Hairs, and Revolutionaries Changed the Way We Eat by Jonathan Kaufman. I just started this book this morning and I read the introduction, which I normally really don't do, but I read the introduction and as I told my boyfriend, I was hooked. What's interesting is that um, I'm not really well, I take that back. I really do have an interest in what we eat. Where does it come from? How is it prepared? What about food items we never even heard of before or not really cooked with because we don't really know too much about it. But in terms of hippie food, like I automatically think like, brown rice, tofu, vegetarian stir fry, which he does talk about in a loving way. And I wonder to myself, how did we get started on this? How did we go from the 50s, which had like the weird jello molds and the weird meatloaf, to brown rice and stir fried tofu and things like that? So anyway, I can't wait to learn more about hippie food. So once again, this is Hippie Food by Jonathan Kaufman. If you can, try and check it out at your library, or if not at your library, then your local bookstore. So that's the book portion of today's video. And it looks like you can see more of the tea leaves have unfurled. Once again, this is an oolong, of course, from Global Tea Hut in Taiwan. So let's steep here. Oh, look at that color. That's beautiful. Now, pour into my massively jumbo mug. Hmm. What's interesting is that I'm actually kind of smelling, I don't know if that's my mug or the tea, but I kind of smell like caramel essence. So anyway, first slurp. That's lovely. So one thing that I'm noticing is I like it. It's weird. Sometimes I like my tea to attack my tongue, and other times I like it when it's like velvet. I know that's a really weird visual, but just work with me. This is very much like velvet. This is very soft, and I can actually feel the waves of the tea. Slightly flowery essence, but not cloying, overpowering, like you just put your head in a rose bush. There's also a hint of sweetness, of course. Oolongs, I have found you can drink throughout the entire day. You can have it with your breakfast, you can have it after lunch, you can have it after dinner. And honestly, I don't think the caffeine would really disrupt your sleeping unless if you're truly sensitive to caffeine. But no, this is quite a lovely cup. And the more that I'm drinking it, the more different flavors are coming out. I'm tasting. Oh, it's an earthy, sweet. It's like taking freshly tilled earth and bringing it up to your nose and just inhaling the rain and the smell of the earthworms going through it and what plants had grown in it previous to you tilling it up. This is quite nice. I wish you could see my taste buds, but this is this is beautiful. Sometimes it's really good to kind of break down what a specific tea tastes like to you. And then other times it's really not good to use words. It's more of you just have to experience it. So with Global Tea Hut, the only way for you to receive their tea is if you sign up for their subscription, which I think is $25 a month. And in doing so, you receive a magazine and you also receive a tin of tea. You can't get the tea anywhere else unless if you, I think they have a separate section where you can order the tea through their website. But more often than not, if you sign up for the subscription, you'll be able to enjoy lovely tea like this. One more sip. It's almost like, okay, at one point I said I wasn't going to describe it, but it's almost like a burnt honey, like a caramelized honey. Not yeah, not burnt, more caramelized. Like there's a caramel honey kind of texture to it. This is quite lovely. I'm thank you very much, the Global Tea Hut, for giving me this. I think it was the April tea. So thank you very much. So, on that note, now that I've got a belly full of tea, it's time for, of course, a small breathing meditation. So, please get comfortable, either sitting in a chair or sitting on a cushion or laying down. And once you get into that comfortable position, just close your eyes and just allow your body to soften and relax where you are. Take several deep breaths in through the nose and either out through the mouth or through the nose. So allow your jaw to soften. And if your mouth slightly opens, just let it open. You can breathe normally now. And just focus on your breathing. And of course, the object of meditation is not to banish thoughts in your head, but to acknowledge them and just let them go by. And just focus on your breathing. And if you find yourself stuck on a thought, You just stop, tell yourself, thinking, and return to focusing on your breath. This is a time to just simply be. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. Just breathe and be. And now, as I end this meditation, just take another deep breath in through the nose, out through either the mouth or nose. Slowly open your eyes and welcome back. Thank you so much for watching my previous videos and this current video. I hope that this has given you a nice little slice of a break. So until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Shalom.